What's up, Story Geeks? It's Jay.
And Daryl.
On today's show, we are going to count down our top 10 scary/horror movies.
People have been wanting us to talk about scary movies for a long time.
They're trying to give me nightmares.
I hear it's working, too.
It is.
Joining us on this show is returning guest and good friend of ours, Sandra Dimas. Sandra Dimas is a book editor and the host of 2819 Show on YouTube, and she's a big horror movie fan.
Yeah.
So it's good to have her on this episode. So if you're interested in conversations about science and faith and other great stuff along those lines, go check out 2819 Show on YouTube.
Absolutely. We'd also love to hear your thoughts on your favorite scary or horror movies, so you can share those with us in the Story Geeks Facebook group. The link to our Facebook group is in the show notes.
And don't miss all of our other shows. This episode is coming out in the midst of our Scary Movie Month. We've got shows on A Quiet Place, Get Out, The Meg. We haven't quite seen that one yet as we're recording this, so we're looking forward to that. And then people have practically dared us to do this, so we've finally done it. And we will be talking about Event Horizon.
Yeah, and we have phenomenal guests, so you want to be sure to check all of those out. Also joining us on today's podcast is Freddie.
Producer
Freddie. So thanks for listening in. The Story Geeks podcast is produced by the Reclamation Society. So we just spent a bunch of time talking about the bottom 5 of our top 10. So still fantastic films.
Yes.
But now we're transitioning into our top 5. So these are top 5 scary movies / horror movies. We've already had some great films, so if you're not a patron, you can go listen to that podcast. There are some films that I know that made my list that have already been talked about a little bit, but I'm going to bring them back up as we get into our top 5. Sandra, what comes in at number 5 for you?
Well, it's a fairly new film.
Yeah.
It, Part 1.
Oh, It.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I love me some Stephen King.
Yeah.
Second of all, Bill Skarsgård was amazing in this film.
And he's
Pennywise.
Pennywise, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I just love the vibe of it, where it has its humor, it has great music and score, and also just really wonderful horror moments as well. So it's not just a horror film, though. It's got so much to it. So I really loved it, and it had such a vintage vibe to it.
No way. I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it?
I have not seen. I started watching it, but I have not finished it yet.
What about you?
I saw it, and ironically, I had the experience with that film that you had with Get Out.
Did it get hyped?
First of all, I did not want to see it because I don't do well with watching children in peril.
Oh, yeah.
Because I fear for my own kids.
Yeah.
So that scares me.
That's fine.
And so I mean, it depends on the type of movie.
Sure.
I can do with them being in peril because I know they're probably going to get saved. Mm-hmm. So I was afraid for this one. I'm like, I don't want to watch a child get brutally killed. That's my thing. I don't want to watch that.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to see it. But everybody kept telling me, oh, it's so good, it's so good. Even Justin Weaver kept telling me, it's good, it's so good. And he even told me, he's like, no, that doesn't really happen. Kids don't really get killed in it. And it happens within the first 5 freaking minutes of the movie. I was a little angry at him about that, but
oh, that part. But come on.
But the rest of it, they told me it's got this amazing story. It's so good, it's so good. And granted, I'm not a big Stephen King fan, so maybe that's why it didn't connect with me. But for me, it was overhyped. I will say I didn't dislike it. Mm-hmm. And I liked it enough that I will go see the second one because I'm intrigued by the idea that they're all grown up. So.
But I like that you don't like seeing kids get hurt, because that's part of the theme of it, is that the adults are so apathetic to what the kids are going through. They just do not even care.
Yeah. There's another...
So far, you guys are not selling me on it.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm not trying to.
Yeah. So what's your number 5?
It's The Lost Boys.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Probably the movie that made me like vampire movies.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of vampire movie I like. It's just barely this side of an action movie that's scary.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I'm a child of the 80s and the 90s and stuff like that. And so I was around at the height of the two Coreys and the hype train, you know, before that all went horribly wrong.
Yeah.
I guess it was going horribly wrong all along.
Yeah.
But I liked those guys a lot. I liked Corey Feldman a lot when he was not as crazy as he is now. But Lost Boys, there was a comic book store in the movie.
Yeah.
There were people talking about comic books in the movie. That didn't happen back then.
That's true.
Happens all the time now, but it didn't happen back then.
Yeah, that's true. What's
All right,
your five,
my
Freddie?
turn. Jurassic Park, and I do want to do a little shout out to Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom there, because I do think it's interesting where Jurassic Park has maybe a little bit of has a little bit of horror and a little bit of, especially in that second half. It's like the beginning half is look at the dinosaurs, and then there's running and screaming, and it's that second half where like.
That was
wait,
almost like a Jeff Goldblum
things.
impression.
All these beautiful things that you
awesome.
see, they start to attack you, and they start to turn. And it's interesting.
So wait,
especially
do you
with
mean the Fallen Kingdom, or you mean the Lost
I'm talking
World?
about Jurassic Park, like the first movie.
one.
I know, but your shout out is
because
that
my
to
shout out is to Fallen Kingdom, because I feel like Fallen Kingdom takes little elements that Steven Spielberg had in that, especially with the Velociraptors and stuff like that, and then just adds in like horror tropes and really good. Like the thing with Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom is it isn't great, but it has fantastic cinematography. Like it looks amazing, and it is terrifying to watch because the sound design and everything else. Yes, it doesn't make much sense, especially it's like, why is the girl going into the bed when she should be going under the bed? I don't know,
Why is the girl
but
in the
just
movie
so
at
that
all?
you can have that giant claw go over and just peel back the thing. I'm like, there we go. I'm like, that is terrifying. I can't watch this. Like that was it for me. It's like, and the whole threat to, as you were saying earlier, like you don't want to see children get hurt. And you have these two, in the original Jurassic Park, you have these two kids constantly going from situation to situation where they might die.
To your point,
Spoiler alert.
kitchen scene
Oh yeah.
is shot like a horror film
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. Like Spielberg shoots the entire thing like a horror film. So
One of
And the opening when you don't even see the raptor
yeah.
and then what's his name? Is it Muldoon or?
I think it is Muldoon or whatever.
He's like,
Shoot
shoot her! Like, that is so good.
Yes. Slow-mos, the hand gets dragged into the cage.
yeah.
Yay.
My number 5 is Split.
Ooh.
And
there
we
we
talked
go.
about that a little bit already. Same thing happened to me with Split that did with Get Out. So it's interesting that they're 5 and 6.
It was worse with Split. You knew the twist before you saw it.
Yeah, exactly. I knew the twist, but that's the only reason I saw it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have
wasn't
never
gonna
seen
see it otherwise.
Yeah. I actually was literally like, okay, that looks interesting. Everyone's like, it's really good. I'm like, no, I'm not interested in that. And then there was like, well, but it's connected to Unbreakable. I'm like, and they're creating a trilogy. And I was like,
Dang it.
and I loved it. I thought the performances were amazing. I mean, James McAvoy is ridiculous, and now he's all yoked out for the next one, man. I mean,
It's creepy.
Glass.
It's
Yeah,
like
what
it's
kind
like
of roids
Last
is that guy
Jedi,
taking?
Adam Driver level kind of stuff.
I feel like he wasn't even that big. Adam Driver. Like,
yeah, exactly.
But how did he get that big after
How would you get that wide? I don't know, man.
a day or two? Is how much time passed?
Full semi-truck. Just
Yeah, like I could use. Hey, Forrest, I could use some muscles. Sandra, what's your number 4?
Get Out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm hearing the music in my head right now. That I didn't see it till it was out on Blu-ray already. And
Yeah, me neither. I wish I saw it in the theater.
And I was watching it, and I was like, even as I was watching it, I'm like, this is so good. Like how they're capturing just how scary it is to be in social settings where you know that people are thinking things about you, the way that they're treating you, like all those little microaggressions are scary. And then you have like this transhumanism element to it where it's like, oh my gosh, like not only are we dealing with racism, but we're dealing with, you know, the science part of it.
Yeah.
Where they're like, well, I don't want to spoil it, but you know, that whole component, it was just such a trip. Like I feel like it was such a unique movie, and I love that we're getting these commentaries in horror films that I feel like we used to get before, and then we had this period of like torture porn type films.
Oh yeah, Eli Roth showed up.
Yeah.
There's some really funny moments to Get Out.
Oh yeah, that guy. I think he's getting a TV show now, but his friend
Oh yeah,
He was like,
Yeah.
I told you not to go in
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
That guy's awesome.
TSA.
He was my commentary.
Yes.
Like everything I was saying, like, don't do it. And he would say it. I'm like, yes.
That's awesome.
He was hilarious.
Daryl, what's your number 4?
Sunshine.
Oh,
Have you guys
there
seen
we go.
Sunshine?
Nope.
I've seen it, yeah.
Oh, you got something good coming to you.
Yeah.
Go find it.
I
It's
need
a-
all these lists.
It's a Danny Boyle film
okay.
about an expedition to reignite the sun because the sun is dying. And
Yeah.
and it's the second expedition. There was one previous, and they lost contact with it. So they're going to
the first one
reignite
was
the
the
sun.
Event Horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second one.
And the cast is amazing. It's got like Chris Evans just before the MCU, like
Mhm.
just before he became huge and respectable, and Cillian Murphy, Rose Byrne.
I feel like if you put Cillian
Travis
Murphy,
from Fear the Walking Dead, I can't remember his real name. Cliff Curtis, that's his name.
I feel like if you put Cillian Murphy in any film, you instantly up the scare factor.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
like that dude can act creepy.
Benedict Wong is in it too.
Oh,
Lots of
yeah.
really good
Yes.
people.
I have
So-
so many questions about how you reignite the sun.
Well, the way they did it was with some like giant nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
Fusion.
Basically.
Yeah.
What's
Well-
more interesting is from the sci-fi fact is how they protect themselves from the sun when they're getting that
yeah.
close to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big part of the story. I love that movie. My wife hates it.
Okay.
Scares the heck out of her.
I feel like I'm in the if a wife hates it, I like it kind of because I just grew up with my dad and brother watching horror movies, so I like a lot
Yeah.
of those
There's a
films.
I forget what it is. There's some sort of an alarm or something that goes off at one point, or maybe it's like the pinging of the ship as it's in space or something, but there's this creepy repetitive noise that you hear a lot. And when the trailer for Rogue One came out, the first trailer, and they had like that
Oh, yeah,
alarm
yeah.
as
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
showing people on the base,
Death
Jamie
Star
was
alarm.
like, she was like, like, freaked her out because it reminded her of Sunshine. So it's
I just thought it was
wonderful.
a little cheesy that the way that they're going to protect themselves from the sun was just have an icy machine right there. It just seemed a little bit over
At
the
least
top.
it was cherry icy
Yeah.
though. I mean,
Did you mix
Since
it
you
with
worked
Yeah.
live,
like
it tasted
lime?
good.
I'm getting so hot. Here's your icy.
it's space, so you have limitations. You know what I mean?
All right, Freddie, what's your number 4?
The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh,
I
classic.
watched this. I had a film class in high school, and so we went through all the different genres. When we got to horror, this is the movie that we watched, and yeah, it's terrifying. Man, Anthony Hopkins just that man does creepy so well.
Have you seen the
Terrifying.
Instagram video that he did where he was like holding the selfie camera out and just freaking out? Have you guys seen
No.
that?
No.
Oh,
What?
man, that is terrifying.
Oh, no.
So do yourself a favor, go look up Anthony Hopkins like selfie freak out.
I don't want to.
Do yourself a favor? Are you sure
Do
that's,
you-
are you sure that's
Please
accurate?
no.
It is the weirdest thing of all time. It looks like you guys remember when people were talking about that the bath salts drug that turned
Yeah.
people into. It looks
Oh,
like he just
boy.
took bath salts and was like, I'm gonna take a selfie
fun.
video of myself.
It's a
It's
vo-
insane.
He's inviting an old friend for dinner.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my goodness, no.
That's a good
Ah,
movie,
the
though.
beans.
So my number 4 has already been mentioned because I chose at number 4 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go. It's on everybody.
Actually, the co-founder of the Reclamation Society, Nathan Sheck, and I watched that film together, and it was really funny because I was sitting there. I'm like, this film is shot so well. The acting is so good, and they're always playing off each other. There's constant tension. How in the world did they spend $15 million in this film? And then, like, the last 5 minutes happens.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's how they spent $15 million.
There's where the money is.
There's where all the money is.
Yep.
But yeah, do yourself a favor and go watch 10 Cloverfield Lane because it is really, really, really good. Love that. All right, we're into the top 3 already.
Woo.
Sandra, what do you think? What's number 3?
This is more of a thriller. Definitely has a Hitchcock vibe, but What Lies Beneath.
Oh, Michelle Pfeiffer and
Yes.
Harrison Ford.
Yes. And
yeah.
that movie, I saw it in the theater, and the tension is so intense that I was sick afterwards. I almost threw up, and it's weird because like The Exorcist is on my list, you know. And
Yeah.
I can tolerate that type of scary, but the thrill of What Lies Beneath and how slow I was like, move the camera, because they're just slowly panning to where you know like something's happening but you don't know what, and that was just to me so brilliant. And there's this one scene where Michelle Pfeiffer is trying to get away, and you know that Harrison Ford has gotten up, but you don't know if he's able to like chase her. And then she's looking in the truck, in the rearview mirror, all she sees is the rocking chair that's on the porch moving. So you know he ran past it and he's after her. And that one shot is so beautiful.
That's
So
terrifying.
That is terrifying.
Oh, no.
It is such a great film, and it's streaming on Amazon. So
Okay, I'll have to watch this
do
during the
yourself
day
a
so that I
solid.
Yeah.
kill myself.
Wake up in the morning. I'm gonna have donuts and watch What Lies Beneath.
Yeah. Just, I'm gonna go Dunkin' Donuts. I'm gonna just get that whole thing. Just
And ruin my day.
stress eat through the movie.
At least it'll be a good 12 hours before the nightmares start.
Uh,
Daryl, number 3.
Signs.
Oh,
Is my number 3.
Nice. Oh, you hit that well. You hit it well
Yeah.
while we were talking earlier.
Before a couple of years ago, that probably would have been my favorite scary movie
Yeah.
altogether.
Spoilers.
Hint.
Yeah.
I love that movie. You talked about on the Patreon section, you
Yeah.
talked about all the foreshadowing, which is beautiful, and just the way everything comes together, and swing away Meryl. Or Meryl? Meryl, right?
Meryl, I think.
We'll
Yeah.
call him Meryl.
And the water throughout the
Yeah.
house and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But super frightening too. Like the alien that passes in front of the news footage is terrifying.
Yep.
The scene where Mel Gibson is in the guy's house and there's one of the aliens locked in the closet, and it like puts its hand out and he cuts its fingers off.
Yeah. By the way, as crazy as Mel Gibson is, he does a fantastic job of playing that character.
Well, this was before then. This was before he went. I mean, I'm sure he's always been crazy to some degree, but this
he's
was
Mad Max. Like,
Yeah.
this was
exactly.
before the meltdown.
Yeah. He just showed up for Mad Max. They're like, you're the guy. We don't need to see anybody
Yeah.
else. You are the guy.
Good enough.
Yeah, I think that he, it's a really fascinating thing. So as a person of faith, it is an interesting thing to see someone doubting their faith, because I think that that's a much more real thing than most people of faith are willing to admit.
Yeah.
That you go through these periods where you're like, oh, I'm just really having a hard time with this or that, the other thing. And I think that movie handled it really well.
Yeah.
Because he never fully abandons it. He's just kind of like, I don't know today.
Yeah.
Today I don't know. And that was cool.
And that movie is intriguing to me because there's two things in it that I really enjoy
Uh-huh.
that otherwise I thoroughly dislike. One of them is Shyamalan appearing in his own films.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the only one that it works in. I
Ah.
think it's super distracting every other time he ever does it. And the other one is Joaquin Phoenix. I love him in that movie, but I cannot take him.
You know, he
Otherwise-
single-handedly ruined his career by doing that whole, like, fake documentary rap thing.
Yeah, probably.
That's just weird.
But I mean, I kind of feel bad because look at how he was raised. I mean, that's pretty
Twisted life,
yeah,
for sure.
That's pretty gross and
Twisted.
sad, and I mean,
And just throw on top of that living under the shadow of River Phoenix.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying I don't enjoy it.
What's your number 3, Freddie?
my number 3, Pan's Labyrinth.
Ooh,
Oh.
We
this
get
guy.
exactly yes.
That
We
movie
get-
is so brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we watched that after Silence of the Lambs.
Back to back?
Yeah.
Um.
But again, and now we have horror.
Yeah.
And now we have sci-fi. It's like
How you guys?
Now we have
Did you watch Mary Poppins next? I mean,
no, we
that's
did
what
not.
I would have done.
No, we didn't do anything.
And
happy
now
in that
The
class.
Exorcist. You're
Yeah.
like,
No, that was it. Those
Just
were
give
the
me
two
an
horror
F.
films. That was it.
yeah, exactly.
I can't take it anymore. The nightmares won't stop. But it's interesting to see. It's like here's Chronicles of Narnia, except it's now a horror film. I'm like, it's just the terror, the terrifying aspect of this, like, of the Fae or this unknown, like, fairy realm type stuff, and just. Yeah, there's a lot of disturbing imagery in that movie, and
yeah.
especially with, like, and here's your little, girl protagonist who's, like, dealing with.
Oh, totally.
Like, oh no.
Oh yeah.
It's like
there's moments in that where you're just
Yeah.
like, you're sitting there and you're like, I'm not even more than being terrified. I'm as uncomfortable as a person can be.
Yes.
You know, like
Yes. And then the whole thing, the whole ending there, just it's so sad. You don't feel good when you leave that movie. You don't. There's no way to leave that movie feeling happy.
One of the things I really dislike about horror is that I really don't. Most people tell me that they remember their dreams fairly consistently. I don't ever remember my dreams. Ever. If you ask me, like, hey, did you dream last night? 9 times out of 10, or no, probably 99 times out of 100, I'll be like, no, I don't remember any of them. I always have nightmares after I watch horror films. And I remember them. So I hate it. It's just the worst.
This is the only dreams you get. That
Yeah,
sucks.
exactly.
You get it.
Exactly. That was terrible.
Aw.
I had 2 this week because I've been watching Event Horizon.
Oh,
in,
no.
In like segments.
Oh,
Um,
torture of your subconscious. You need to be
exactly.
Inception right now. Don't
Yeah,
worry, we can set that up.
Exactly.
Oh boy.
But I will say this. I will say this. This film did not give me nightmares, but this film was fantastic. I know we'll be talking about it more, so I'm only going to mention it before we move on. A Quiet Place comes in at number 3 for me. Ooh. I thought that was a fantastic film. Again, I saw it after the hype was at maximum level, but it doesn't take away from the film. It just takes away. It only takes away from my surprise that it's good.
Did you see it in the theater?
No.
Okay.
Just watched it in my.
That I kind of feel bad that I missed out.
Yeah.
Although I know that I probably would have left the theater if I had gone to see it because I just
I
couldn't.
saw that in your theater.
In the Dolby Cinema.
Dolby Cinema.
Oh.
That
Yeah.
would have been so terrifying.
It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh
It was
man.
such an experience because it was so obviously quiet. So everyone's just sitting there, and then you would hear like crinkle, crinkle. No, never mind. And you can hear like
Yeah,
people start to open, and then like forget it.
Yeah, they're trying to have popcorn. You just hear a loud crunching.
Or you'd hear like
Don't
them
do it.
adjusting in their seat.
Oh
But-
no! You would hear the electronic motors going in the Dolby Cinema as you're like reclining your giant leather chair.
I hope that they bring it back because
Oh.
people who didn't see it in the theater, they
Oh,
really
that would be
need to.
good. All right, Sandra, what is your number 2?
The movie that started it all. Well, the franchise, Halloween.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Are you excited for the new one?
Probably not. I
Is it
like
a
old school.
direct sequel to the original? Is that what I,
I
heard?
don't know.
I've heard that it's a sequel to the first one and leaves everything else out completely. That's what
Oh.
I've heard.
But yeah, I don't know. I'd probably see it, but there's such it was Halloween 2 actually because I was a little bit too young to see Halloween 1, and actually I was a lot young to see Halloween 2,
Mm-hmm.
but I did. My parents were watching it in the drive-in, and I was supposed to be asleep, and I was not asleep, and little Sandra was peeking under the blanket.
How
you know?
old were you?
However old I don't know, maybe 3 or 4.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. And I just
That's
remember
fun.
the adrenaline rush and the tension, and I was like, I think I love this.
Oh no!
I think. And so, yeah, Michael Myers and that theme. I mean, John
The
Carpenter
theme is fantastic.
knew his film, so he had like the best theme.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like, yeah.
I'm not a big fan of those movies, but the music is. I love that theme.
Yeah, that is a great theme. Daryl, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Get Out.
Wait, there's one higher than that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, I know what it is then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've already talked a lot about Get Out, but obviously brilliant, socially aware.
Mhm.
I feel like it helped white people understand the plight of African Americans a little bit better. And it's terrifying but fun and has great performances in it. I don't know what else can I say. We've already said so much about it.
The pacing of it, we didn't talk about the pacing yet. The pacing of it's really amazing because there's some of these films, there's something where you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit in order for it to continue to be scary. That film, what it does that's fantastic, and I think it's because it's Jordan Peele and so he knows comedy. He's like, I can subvert you having any suspension of disbelief by calling out what's happening in a funny way, and then you just go, oh, okay, I'm just supposed to go along with this. That's fine. And so the pacing just stays. You stay with it. There's no point in time where you're like, I don't know, this seems ridiculous. It's like, oh no, it is ridiculous. And then you kind of see why it's ridiculous, and then there's the social commentary aspect of it.
One of my favorite things about it, now that I think about it, is the scene where they reveal that I can't remember her name. His
Jerky
girlfriend's
jerk face.
name. What is her name?
Who cares?
Shoot, Grace? Rose. Her name is Rose.
Yeah.
Where they reveal that she's not on his side.
Yes.
And at that point, like, it's obvious. You figured it out. And I remember thinking, okay, well, stop trying to make me think that she's good, because when you finally reveal it, it's going to be unsatisfying because I figured it out.
Right.
But the way they chose to do it was so much fun that I didn't even care. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, that was great. Like, she just changes her facial expression out of nowhere, and she's like, I can't give you the keys, right?
That was like, ooh. And like, I already knew she was bad.
Yeah.
But then,
But it was such a good reveal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a question about what did you think when she was looking over the profiles of, I think it was basketball prospects or something, and she was sitting there eating the cereal and then drinking the milk? What did you think of that scene?
I don't remember thinking anything.
Because my son was saying she's segregating them. and I was like, what?
And how old is your son?
He's old. No, he's 21.
Okay, all right.
And yeah, he's not 5. I'm not doing the same thing. I broke the cycle, man.
All right.
But yeah, he was like, she's segregating them, and I was like, oh, what?
The realization.
Wow.
And I don't know if that's intentional, but I was like, dude.
It could be.
It's 100% intentional.
Yeah.
This
I've
is
heard
one of
about
those
that
movies
point.
that.
Because they're Fruit Loops. They're colored.
Yeah, the milk is white.
white.
Yeah. I'm sure it was intentional.
Yeah.
This is one of those movies that I would advocate watching Justin Weaver style, which, if you don't know what that means, Justin Weaver loves director's commentaries.
Oh, me too.
Every movie he watches, he'll watch the commentary.
Okay, we need to become friends because no one ever wants to watch director's commentary with
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Like, ever.
Well, everybody wants to be friends with Justin Weaver anyway. He's the nicest guy in the world. But
Oh, yes.
Very true.
But I watched the director's commentary for this one, and it's so fun to watch. It's so intriguing to hear Jordan Peele talk about all this stuff. A lot of it, you're like, oh, okay, I see that. And a lot of it, you're like, that's totally out of the blue. I had no idea.
That's awesome.
It's my
Freddie, your turn.
Yes. Aliens.
Oh,
That's my number 2
Nice.
horror film or scary film. It is interesting. Like, I never made it through the first Alien movie because it was a little too slow. It's like, it's because of how old it is compared to all of these. For me, I'm only 20. It's like,
Dude, I'm twice your age, and I feel the same way.
See, for me, it's like, it's something where it takes its time, the original Alien, but Aliens is like, this is your modern horror action film. Like, that's, and it doesn't get better than Aliens. It's just, it's so good. It's so, it's terrifying, but at the same time, it's great. You're just watching all these guys just die and just all this horror. But at the same time, it's so entertaining. I'm just having fun. Watch these people suffer in space. It's great. It's so great. I love it.
Excellent choice. My number 2 is Cabin in the Woods.
I knew it'd be on there eventually.
I was okay. So again, I do not go see horror movies in the theater. I don't see them until somebody tells me like, "Oh no, you should really watch that. Like, you would really enjoy it." And I'm like, "But it's just like Cabin in the Woods. Like, I can even imagine what that is. Like, it just sounds like a bunch of people in the woods getting scared
It's
and
like Friday the 13th.
Exactly. Yeah. But the way it ratchets up its premise, and like, so as soon as they show you that there's actually something else going on, which I won't say because I want people to watch it. As soon as they say there's something else going on, you're like, oh, interesting. Well, maybe actually this isn't even a horror movie. Maybe this is like a psychological like test of some kind. And then it's like, oh no, it's still a horror movie. This is just crazy town. I just really enjoy that. So I had a lot of fun with Cabin in the Woods. Now, who directed Cabin in the Woods?
Drew Goddard.
Oh, okay.
And it feels very much like a Whedon-verse movie.
That's what I was wondering.
Joss Whedon write it?
I don't know. I
He
think
was
Drew
involved
wrote
with the
it,
project.
but it's
I'm
got.
gonna look it up.
It's the cast is full of Whedon people.
Yes.
So-
And if you want to see Thor, if you want to see if you haven't got enough of shirtless Thor,
Oh, gosh.
you
Yep.
go watch Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
It's Drew Goddard directed it, but Joss Whedon wrote it.
Okay.
There you go.
They co-wrote it.
And I don't normally like Joss Whedon
No, you
stuff,
don't.
but this movie is fantastic. All right, we're gonna go into the number ones, but before we go into the number ones, 3 things I'd like to make you guys aware of. One, we have a Patreon account, and we'd love it if you would support us on Patreon. We actually have a new tier. You can actually support us on Patreon for $2 a month now. You'll get access to bonus content. If you up that to $3 a month, you get access to signature content. And we actually just did a show before this one, which was the bottom 5 of our top 10. So our top 10 scary movies / horror films. If you want to know 6 through 10, you can get all that access on Patreon. Plus, you're supporting us. We really appreciate it. Go check it out. Patreon.com/thestorygeeks. Also, I want to let you know about a sponsor of ours. So, because we're on YouTube now, I can actually show these, and you can see how cool they are. Modern Mouse Boutique makes mouse ears, and the quality is out of this world. Super, super high quality. They actually, when they set out to make these, they wanted to make them more comfortable than any other mouse ears on the market, and so they did that. And people really love these things, and they are a sponsor of ours. So if you go to modernmouseboutique.com, find a set of ears that you really, really like. A lot of us are Southern California natives, and we go to Disneyland all the time, and we see people wearing these, and you can get a discount. So if you use promo code StoryGeeks, all one word, no spaces, promo code StoryGeeks, you can get a discount, 10% discount at modernmouseboutique.com. Promo code StoryGeeks, all one word, StoryGeeks. And finally, you can actually buy merch, StoryGeeks merch too. So if you go over to shop.reclamationsociety.org, get yourself a t-shirt, get yourself a mug.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not do it? Oh, and lastly, if you are a podcaster, I highly recommend these headphones. These are urban vinyl headphones. You can even get them custom engraved, and they are super awesome for podcasting. And I know the founders of the company, so you should go check that out too. And with that, we will jump back into it and get to our number ones. Sandra, what's your number 1 film?
Saw. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa, what?
Yeah.
The Shining.
Oh.
Or The Shinin, if we're watching this.
The Shinin.
The Shinin. You want to get sued? Yes.
Somebody had to say it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
It had to come up.
Yeah, you know what? I love Stephen King, and so I'm sorry that I love the film that you hate, but assuming he's listening, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure he listens to every episode.
yes.
Yeah.
Stephen King?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Consistent.
We type.
For sure. Yeah,
Patreon supporter, yes.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's true.
Oh my goodness, that would be so awesome.
He needs to up his support, though.
I know.
I know. What's
He's
up?
he's too low. On
There is a
that.
$1,000 tier. Right?
He's got-
Actually, there's not anymore. There's no $1,000.
Oh, well, there should be.
But he can.
Oh,
He can give us
yeah.
$1,000.
Well, I think it is a masterpiece. I
Ah.
think that it's so beautifully shot. Now I know Kubrick is his own kind of crazy bag of nutso, but
Yeah.
but man, it's just such a great film. Jack Nicholson is, I mean, you talked about what happens when people are scared and they start to not love, and they lash out, or and so what he does, like just seeing him kind of fall apart and see Shelley Duvall's character try to save herself and her son, and this kid, Danny, just watching him, like, what the heck is going on? And it depends on how you look at it. He can be the kid who's kind of the victim in all of this, trying to figure out what to do with The Shining, or like some people say, he's the one causing it. And I'm like, that's a totally different movie. Like, it's crazy to look at it from that perspective, but I think it's just such a crazy film. Even to this day, people are still trying to crack it and figure out, room 237, like, what does that mean? And the documentary on that, it's just, I think it's such a great film, great acting, beautiful shots and music, and
we need a documentary on Kubrick's life called Crazy Bag of Nutso.
yes, yes.
But
and I really want to see the Overlook Hotel, like that history. I
Oh.
want to see
Yeah,
it.
it's based
that
on
would
a
be
true
so
story,
frightening,
right? Yeah.
to go there.
Yeah. Ghost Hunters
Yeah.
went there.
That movie has, I think, the most eerie tone
Right?
of any movie ever, probably.
Of any
The whole time.
Yes.
Oh.
Even when there's not something scary happening.
Yeah.
Even in the beginning.
Even
when
in
he's
his job
interviewing.
interview.
Yeah, it's
Yes!
just, it's like, this isn't right. It's just
Yeah.
creepy.
Like, it's like no one has feelers to be like, this guy is a little bit. Yeah, even the wife, it's like, oh, he just with the hurting Danny, and it's like, oh, he
Yeah.
just pulled a little too hard. It's like, no, he abused your child.
Are you ready for the sequel?
A sequel.
Making a sequel to
Dr.
The Shining.
Sleep?
Yes.
Well, I read the
Why?
book. So what? But don't you want to know what happened? But see, I don't know how they're gonna do that. Well, because if you read the book, there's characters in there that aren't
They're not.
in the film. They're I mean, I'd be spoiling it, but
Adaptation. We'll see what happens.
yeah.
Find out.
They could find a way around
Although
it.
the closest I've gotten to watching The Shining was Ready Player One, and that was terrifying.
What? That was like my favorite part in the film.
That was the best part of the movie. That was the best part because I was like,
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this. So meta.
Yeah. So meta.
So meta.
I haven't seen The Shining, and I don't plan to, because that sounds like nightmares for a month for me.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
That is the movie that I watched right there in the middle of the day
Yeah.
with my dog right next to me, so I could just
As somebody who's in a similar mindset to you,
Yeah.
I can't recommend that you watch it.
Yeah. I'll just I'll have The Shining on one TV, and I'll have VeggieTales on the
Yes,
other TV.
there we go.
there we
You gotta combat it.
Yeah.
What if I say I'm more scared of VeggieTales?
Oh no!
I've actually never seen VeggieTales either. but-
VeggieTales is its own kind of creepy.
VeggieTales is
Yeah.
amazing. I love that.
It's like, how are they?
Yeah.
They have no arms, but their little
No,
hand
no,
things
just-
are
yeah.
floating.
Don't
like,
think about it. Don't think about it. It gets terrifying.
They're literally telekinetic vegetables.
Yes.
There's no other solution.
I've never seen any episodes of that, and I've never seen The Shining, and I just don't plan to see either of those things. All right, Daryl, what's your
Wow.
number two? Or what's
Okay.
your number one?
My number one, in case you haven't already figured it out, is A Quiet Place.
Yes.
So, should I say my controversial comment about
Yeah,
The Quiet
say it.
Place
Yeah.
now?
Do it.
Say it.
Okay. I'm gonna watch Jay as I say this because
I think I know what he's
I really
gonna say.
want to see. His
I know what he's gonna
reaction.
say. Now that you built it up, I know what you're gonna say, and I think it's crazy that you're gonna say this.
A Quiet Place is my favorite movie
Yep, I knew you were gonna say that.
Wow.
of all time.
Of all time.
The Dark Knight has been dethroned.
What?
Wow.
So you need to
That's-
have another kid, and what are you gonna name your kid?
John.
John.
I have never cared about the people in a movie more than I cared about the people in this movie. Never. And even just the making of the film and how it all came about, I would encourage you. There's a podcast called The Director's Cut. It is put out by the Directors Guild of America. It's one director interviewing another. So in this case, it's Doug Liman interviewing John Krasinski, who were college buddies, so they know each other really well. And that's just one of a few podcasts that are out there. But I would really encourage you guys to go and listen to John Krasinski talk about this movie, because there's so much about it that was radically unconventional, so much that he just stuck to his guns, that what he thought was important. I'll talk more about it in the regular podcast. I'm sorry if I know you're not going to be here for that, but
Yeah.
I don't want to take up this whole show talking about this. And granted, my perspective might be skewed because I'm a parent, and I may not have cared so much about this movie before I was a parent. But I think it's just beautiful. I think it's this is probably controversial too. I think it's a perfect film for me. I think the script is airtight and it tackles just enough and gives you just enough information. And so I know they're talking about a sequel to it. I think at the end of the day, I probably do not want one,
Yeah.
but I'll watch it if they make it.
I know. Gobble gobble.
Especially if John's involved somehow.
Yeah.
But I love that movie to death. And this week, after watching it a second time, I realized I leaned over to my wife and I'm like, I think this is my favorite movie.
Wow.
And she's like, yeah, I think it took you a little longer to admit it than I thought it would, but yeah.
She's like, it doesn't even make my top 10. Daryl's like, what?
No, it does. It makes her
So,
top 10.
Has everyone seen it?
Yeah.
I have not seen it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
I'm going to have to go watch it.
Definitely watch it. It's a good one. It's a really
Yeah.
good one. The Empire spoiler special with the interview with John Krasinski is also really good.
Yeah, he talks a lot about the same stuff in that one.
Yeah, that's good.
In
Good
fact,
place
he
to go
tells
listen to
stories in that one that he doesn't tell elsewhere
that. Oh,
that are very specific. So I'd recommend you go listen to that too.
yeah.
All right.
It's a good one. Freddie?
Okay, my
two,
number
or
one. Number one, Jaws.
Oh,
Yes.
Jaws.
I love Jaws so much. It took me so long to watch that movie, like before I actually watched that movie, and I sat down, I'm like, I understand why this is like one of Steven's. This might be just the best Steven Spielberg movie. It's so tight. It's so well done. The limitations that were put on Spielberg in every single aspect, the challenges that he went through, the whole like he had PTSD afterwards and he would just go sit in the boat, for the movie and just like cry. But it's like it is like such a labor of love. And in the end it's great. It's like the whole aspect of we can hide the monster. It's like it's not on purpose. It's just because we have to, but it works out so well to the benefit of the movie. And the musical score. Oh, Johnny Williams, man.
Johnny Williams.
My Johnny. I love
Jay.
Dude, I love going to the Hollywood Bowl.
My new scary movie is Freddie saying my Johnny.
My Johnny. Oh my goodness! Did you know that John Williams, like every single time he interacts with like a director or whatever, he's just like for J.J. Abrams, he's like, oh JJ baby, it's like it's okay. He's apparently like really smooth, like just a smooth old man, which is weird.
That's so weird.
He's a weird like just he has low voice. So he's just he's gonna wander around the stage.
He's been hanging out with the Rat Pack his whole life.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, it was funny at the end of every conference. He's always like, he's just gonna go to bed now. He walks off stage.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna go to bed. I'm done. But yeah, Jaws.
Great choice. So my number 1 is the only non-geek film on my top 10. It is the only one that would not qualify as geek.
Sandra's here, so she might try to
I
convince you
don't know.
otherwise. We
Well,
may fight about
Well,
it.
there's some people that would say that some people that say that all horror is geek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And my definition just is cut off when you say that there's not as many what I would call fantastical elements.
Mm-hmm.
And you can make an argument that this one does have fantastical arguments. I think it's a little bit too grounded of a film for that. But it has been mentioned before. I think it was mentioned by Freddie. Sixth Sense.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Because it is the one film that, despite the fact that I saw it after everyone told me that it was amazing, I still did not predict what was going to happen, and I still was floored.
Oh, so you didn't have it ruined for you?
No, no one ruined it for me. No one hyped it even for me. There's like, you just need to watch it.
Yeah.
I can't say anything about it. You just need to watch it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I did watch it, I was just so stunned at the end of it that I was like, I don't even care that I was scared. Like, that was just fantastic from a pacing standpoint, the acting of all the people involved, and it's just I still haven't seen a film that I was scared by that I went, that is just an amazing piece of art. All the rest of these films are really good. That's an amazing piece of art.
Yep.
So.
And Toni Collette. She's just anything, well, I mean, Hereditary, we haven't talked about that.
I haven't seen that, and I'm not going to see that one either. Put that on the shelf with The Shining,
And
The
The
Exorcist,
Exorcist.
Hereditary.
And the rest of my list.
Exactly.
That is a good film, though.
So is there any films that you feel like were cheated? Before we close it out, is there any films you feel like were cheated between like not even being mentioned? So you can go listen to our Patreon. We go into the, like I said, the bottom 5 of our top 10. We talk about honorable mentions. Are there films that you're like, everyone talks about that film, but it just didn't show up for us?
Human Centipede.
Yeah, exactly.
That movie's
boy.
disgusting.
No.
I would say Sharknado. No.
Oh,
I mean, there's like a whole subculture of like 80s slasher films that we barely hit. Like,
Sleepaway Camp.
like you talked about Freddy and Halloween, but
Army of Darknesses would be fit there too, right?
but there was nothing about Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like Hellraiser, all these other
Yeah.
like classic
Puppet Master.
80s horror franchise. Yeah, Puppet Master.
That
I
was-
heard there's like 12 of those. Is that
I don't
true?
even know. I don't even know because I saw it's like when I look at all the movies that came out when I was growing up, I'm like I likely saw it, but I don't necessarily remember. We just like even Goblin, like all of those movies.
Leprechaun.
Pumpkinhead, Leprechaun.
Oh, boy.
That was Jennifer Aniston
Yeah.
before her surgery.
That was Big Nose Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah. Hey.
I don't know why
Triggered.
So I have a question for you guys. If you could pick someone else's film that didn't make your top 10 that you're like, oh, I wish that I could fit that in my top 10 somehow, which film would you have picked that someone else mentioned?
I'm trying to remember.
I'll go first then because I already have mine. I would go with Frighteners.
Yeah.
Frighteners I did not think about. That's an amazing film. Really fun. Also very scary. I would pick that.
Maybe I might have done something with Hitchcock.
Oh, sure.
But probably maybe Rear Window.
Yeah.
That didn't get talked about at all. But
But
maybe
it's very relevant to today
Yeah.
because we've all become this society of peeping toms, like he says, or
Yeah.
like the nurse says, or something.
And I was fascinated by it just because every other Jimmy Stewart movie I'd ever seen was like, he's like, I'm Jimmy Stewart.
Merry
And he's
Christmas,
just like this
Robert
super
Banana.
nice guy.
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
here
yeah.
he is, this like paranoid creep. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Little did you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 3. I can't pick one.
Okay. What are your 3?
A Quiet Place.
Oh,
And-
because I didn't make your top 10.
No, and I feel like the ending, I was expecting a typical Hollywood ending. So when it ended where it did, I was like, pursing my lips, like, I don't know.
Oh.
And now that I think back on it, it was brilliant. It was brilliant because what I would have wanted, or what I expected actually, was a typical Hollywood ending
Yeah.
where we have, maybe like a minute of normality and
Closure.
new life.
Yeah.
Like, here's what life looks like now. But
One
we
of
didn't.
the things that John Krasinski talks about in one of those podcasts, maybe the Empire one, is the first time he told Emily about the ending.
Uh-huh.
Which it was after she had already agreed to play the part.
And they were still arguing about the ending, how it would actually
Yeah.
end.
And then he came up with it and he told her, and she was like, yes!
Yeah.
Like, she's like, that's amazing.
Yeah. The ending was, it took a minute for me to accept that it was a really smart move.
Yeah.
So that would it be on the list. Signs, because I loved at the very beginning, you already knew in that opening scene, excuse me, he was, I think, putting his shoes on or something, and you can see that on the wall there was the shape of a cross that had been removed from the wall. So right away at the beginning, you knew this character, and then you see, everything kind of, he's grappling with it. He has lost his faith, and he wants to be honorable and not acting like a father. And when they call him father, no, like, this is who I am now. And him going through his grief, like, that's relatable. And then seeing how it all, like you said, the chaos, it was just so chaotic. Even his brother, and was such a disappointment. But no, not really. Like, his line, the brother's line where he says it felt wrong not to swing.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a great line right there. So I would say Signs, and then I would also say Sixth Sense.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
There's a little shot in the opening of Signs. Normally, like, sometimes I'm kind of slow when I watch movies, like deep symbolism of like little subtle shots and stuff like that. I'll get like on a second viewing.
Yeah.
But there's one in Signs that I got right away the first time I saw it, which I think is one of the reasons I love it. I can't remember. It's in the beginning, and they transition from showing you what's going on outside to having it being looked through a window. I don't remember if it's going out the window or coming back in through the window. But you see the difference between clearly seeing things and then passing through this like old weathered glass where things are like kind of wavy and scratchy and twisted a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get that.
Yeah.
Right now, I get that.
That's
and I can't wait to see the rest of this movie,
That's awesome. Freddie, what would you put?
I don't think I'm going to put anything on my list.
Oh, you're going to keep it the way
Not
it
putting the
is.
Killer Clowns on, unfortunately. No, I think I'm done.
Almost Killer Clowns.
I think this is my list. This is it.
Did you say almost Killer
Almost.
Clowns?
And almost so
See,
close.
and I need to watch like Quiet Place, and I still didn't get around to seeing Get Out.
Oh, you gotta see him.
I gotta see it.
You got to see him. Don't let it be overhyped.
Yeah.
Just watch him. Enjoy it.
They're just okay,
So
man.
don't listen to me talk about
Yeah.
it anymore.
Yeah. It's not Daryl's favorite movie
Because you
of
say
all
that,
time.
and I'm like, oh no, now it's like.
Yeah. Daryl's delusional. Just don't worry.
It's whatever,
about it.
man.
Emily Blunt is gonna be Mary Poppins anyway. I gotta watch the movie.
I did not say it's the greatest movie of all time. I said it's my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
But
He didn't really say that either. He
Yeah.
Should block it out of my
Yeah.
mind. Just going cold.
Temple of Doom could have been mentioned. I have a giant
Oh,
poster on the wall.
no.
I do like Temple
Yeah.
of Doom. That's it for today's show. Special thanks to Sandra and Freddie for joining us today. Amazing top 10 lists. Coming up next week on the Story Geeks podcast, or I should say coming up this month on the Story Geeks podcast, we're in the midst of scary movie / horror month. You heard our top 10s, but you're going to hear us dive into some more. So Daryl talked about it at the beginning of the show, Event Horizon, Get Out, A Quiet Place.
And The Meg.
You got to stick around for those. So don't forget to subscribe. You either want to subscribe on the podcast or on YouTube. Make sure you see all of that content.
And be sure to connect with us on our Facebook group as well, the Story Geeks on Facebook. Let us know your thoughts on this show. Let us know how you feel about us finally tackling scary movies. Let us know if you think we've missed any.
That's right. And if you enjoyed today's show or any of the Story Geeks podcasts, please share our show with a geek friend. Links to everything we've talked about today, Patreon, Modern Mouse Boutique, anything that we talked about are in the show notes.
So thank you for listening. And as always, question everything in your favorite geek stories.
And always seek the truth.